What is up, obscure mic people? It's Bark, coming at you with a bit of a specialty video today. Just got asked a question on the channel as to why more podcasts, or why more people that record audio, why don't they use a headset? Because the cost would be technically cheaper, and multi-person was specifically mentioned here. And that is a thought, and a pretty good thought, but I'm going to tell you why it's not really a great idea and why it's not more of a thing. And I'm going to tell you what the use cases are for a headset with a microphone. Obviously, gaming, we know that gamers, streamers, they love their gaming headsets. They love their microphone headset all in one. Podcasters and such, not the same. Not the same at all. But let's talk about a headset with a built-in mic. And I'm going to dive right in for the most part. Reason number one why I wouldn't use a headset for podcasting is typically headsets have a TRRS jack, which is great if you are joining in on a podcast. Sort of great. A guy that I know named Dennis Bennett uses a headset on a fantasy football podcast every episode. And he sounds fine, kind of, but with a TRRS jack, you know, your aux jack that plugs in and out of a headset. By the way, this may sound like it's recording on the phone speaker. I assure you, it's not. And hopefully this works. Now we should be recording on the phone's microphone, not speaker, but TRRS. 3 connectors, 3 lines. I'm back to this, actually. Those 3 lines on that aux enable you to hear what's coming in and to talk and it go out. Problem with that is there's no way, to my knowledge, to get latency-free monitoring from that. So while I'm talking to you in this video, I can't hear what I'm saying here. Actually, all I hear is muffled me. Very, very muffled me, to the point where I'm not sure why I even have these on my ears, because it's just like Charlie Brown. But it feels unnatural not to have them on my ears. And it feels weird to talk into the mic with them not on my ears. There are USB headsets. I don't own one. I don't know if there's latency-free monitoring with those or not, but the fact remains, with a USB headset, you're not going to be able to set up a multi-person podcast anyways, unless you're doing it online and those multi-people are in different locations. So as far as sitting around a table with headsets and mics, unless you have a device that has a bunch of headset inputs in, which I don't see very often, that's not going to work. And even with that, I don't believe you're going to hear the other people in the room, except for on playback, which is how I could hear myself in these, is to stop this recording and then listen so the sound can come from something into the headphones. They can't pick up the mic live. Just not going to happen. Another reason why I don't recommend headsets for podcasting, most mics on them are omnidirectional, which is why the beginning of this microphone, it sounded like I was just recording with the phone's microphone and not a headset. So that's a bit of a drawback too. These are hardly ever made with good audio in mind. And I have owned a set of Bear Dynamic headphones with a built-in mic, and it still wasn't good. It still wasn't very good. Now, granted, you can process the audio coming from these, which I will do now, and you can get it to sound somewhat or considerably better, but I still wouldn't bank on that as my sound for a podcast. So the pros here are using this to do an interview remotely. You can hear the people you're talking to, and you can talk back to them. For a quick and simple setup, that would be good. I would rather use a headset than just pull up a Zoom meeting or an interview on my phone and talk that way. I would rather have this, but if the people you're talking to, let's assume it's a podcast, if they have microphones, you're going to be the worst sounding participant in that podcast, bar none. Unless someone has a good recommendation for a headset with a mic that sounds really good, which I've yet to run into one. Bandrew on Podcastage has done a bunch of them. I don't think he's really been very impressed with any. So that's a big part of it. It is just not set up to be a multi-person recording experience. It's more for a remote thing. These are very much intended for remote discussions. And even still, I can't stand to just be muffled. Like, I sound ridiculous right now to myself because I can't hear any of the audio coming in. And again, I don't know if USB headsets remedy that or not. I've never actually owned a USB headset, but TRRS, no. I own this for the very occasional Zoom meeting or conference call, just as a quick throw on and go thing. But for podcasting, it just doesn't seem cost effective to me, especially considering USB mics do have latency free monitoring. You still can't really do much of a multi-person podcast setup with those, but at least you can hear yourself and hear the person on the other end, and you can sound good. Even with a cheap one, you're going to sound better than this. So I quit processing a few minutes ago if you didn't notice. Anyways, cost effective? Maybe, because most headsets are realistically $30 and less, but if you just buy one decent interface and 4 or 3 or 2 cheap dynamic microphones, you're going to get much, much better results. So to the person that commented that, thanks, because that inspired this video. Also, just go with cheap dynamics. The cheapest of the cheap dynamics will be better than this. The cheapest of the cheap condenser mics, even the Newars of the world, most likely, more often, going to be better than this. You really want that input with an output that's not built into one cord for multi-person. Obscure mics. This will probably be the last time you'll ever see me wearing a headset on this channel. Peace out.